I forgot again to put this at the beginning of my recording, but instead of on the toilet, this time I'm in the shower. It's an upgrade. Thank you, Identitech, Andreas Glaisel. You guys donate at least $5 a month on my Patreon, and that gives you a shout out at the beginning of my reactions. So thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoys the video, and yeah. Every video must begin with me drinking something. Par for the course. Welcome, everyone, to another first reaction. My name is Alex Haitz. I'm a musician, songwriter, author, man of the arts, the troubled artist. I come at you today with an album. This is album 2 of 9 in our David Bowie trajectory. Last one I listened to was The Man Who Sold the World. Released that video on the 3rd. It's the 7th. I'm doing pretty good, guys. I'm trucking forward. I'm getting these done. Part of me is just trying to rumble through because I want to get through these 9 albums because it's a lot of music. And I also just want to keep muscling through because Man Who Sold the World, most people in the comments, there was a couple people who were head over heels for the album and were kind of upset that I wasn't. Those people exist. But most people were like, yeah, this is a good to listen to hear where he begins, but I would never come back to this very often. It's not most people's favorites or even in their top 5 per se. And I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better that I wasn't head over heels for it. But some interesting stuff on there for sure. But just kind of felt like this Beatles hard rock mixed with proto-punk aesthetics from Velvet Underground. And I was just whatever. But today, we are doing Hunky Dory, album number 4 from David Bowie, the second in our marathon. This came out a year after The Man Who Sold the World, almost exactly a year later. Takes a different trajectory. It goes art rock, art pop. It's not as hard rock as Man Who Sold the World. Yeah, this has 10 out of 10s everywhere. Everyone apparently loves this one. Man Who Sold the World has a little bit more divisive feel to it. It ranged anywhere from 5 out of 10s to 8.5 or 9 out of 10. So Hunky Dory is a little more unanimously considered a masterpiece. We'll see. Any 10 out of 10 from Pitchfork catches my eye. I'll say that. Yeah, there's not much to say. I guess I'll just hop right in. After this, I'm probably going to do a Patreon poll number 6. It'll be the first patrons-only poll. So when I release that video, you will need to be a patron, patreon.com/AlexHeitz, to vote in the poll. Just $1 a month will get you access to it. And I'll reiterate that in the video when that comes around. Yeah, I think we'll just start. I've only heard Changes. I think I've heard a little bit of Life on Mars, I think. But it's actually funny. With Changes, my siblings, I don't remember which one, had the game SingStar for the PlayStation 2. She had 2 or 3 of them. And one of them had Changes by David Bowie on it. And it's literally just a karaoke, rock band-esque game where you just have 2 microphones and you try to sing the best you can to the song. But Changes, I don't believe, has a music video, or if it did, they couldn't put it in the game. And so it was just this montage of David Bowie images from there's the cover of Hunky Dory, and then him as Aladdin Sane, and him as whoever the character is that he is in during the Aladdin Sane era. And it just goes through a bunch of David Bowie pictures, and everyone made fun of that song on that album, or on that game. They thought it was silly, but my family isn't a big glam rock kind of thing, So, I don't mind Changes. I think it's an interesting song. I haven't heard it since we played SingStar years ago. So let's just go.
And my time was running wild and
It was also funny because none of us had ever heard Changes before, so we tried our best to mimic the melody and we couldn't even hear it. There it is. I like that. I like that song actually. I like on some level I don't know how I feel about it, but on the other hand, it's like it's a very interesting and unique song. Production wise, like composition wise, it's pretty straightforward. But like when that Turn and Face the Strange comes in on the chorus, and it's like a not reverbed, very dry, almost low bit rate, whatever you would call it, audio track. It's like it's always exciting, you know. All right, so no idea what else is coming, but let's keep going. Oh, you pretty things.
Wake up your sleepy head, put on some clothes, shake up your bed. Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your car? Let me make it plain, gotta make way for the Homo superior. Look out, the author's a bitch, we finished our news. Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. When you're Robinson's Robbins insane, gotta make way for the Homo superior.
There's so much more interesting things to talk about on this one, I feel. I mean, not that there wasn't with the other one, but I'm just not a hard rock guy, so I didn't have much to comment on. But so, as soon as the song started, I thought of Martha, My Dear by the Beatles. And you go to the Oh, You Pretty Things Wikipedia page, it says the simple piano style has been compared with the Beatles' Martha, My Dear. And I'm like, there it is. I got the vibe of early Neil Young in there a little bit after the Gold Rush. Just ever so slightly. Yeah, this is compelling. I don't like love it. I'm not head over heels, but I'm really intrigued. This is very interesting to me. Let's keep going. 8-line poem.
Mobile spins to its collision. Open shops down the west side.
Interesting that you still have like a blues riff in there. Like there's that little nugget left over from the last album. Fine, fine. Life on Mars? Question mark. This is like a biggie, right? Pitchfork named it best song of the 1970s. Well, golly, I bet I'll hate it. Let's go.
It's a god-awful small affair, and her daddy has told her to go. Standing for she's lived it 10 times or more. If they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall, it's the freakiest show. Life on Mars. is out of bounds. To my mother, my dog and clown.
So here's the thing. I personally don't like it a lot, and people will crucify me for that and say, how the hell can you not like that? And these are probably people who grew up with this song, right? Like, how can you not listen to it and just be completely blown away? I don't love Queen. Queen is very glammy in a lot of ways in a good amount of their songs. And I think I said this on the previous video, I don't hate glam as a genre, just that glam can sometimes get so sensational that it like, the connection like goes away for me. So it's like I hear this and it's like, okay, I hear a pretty well composed song, interesting lyrics, fine melody, but it's like I'm not there. I don't have the connection to the song. I'm someone in 2020 who hasn't heard much of Bowie before, so I come into this and I'm like, it's fine. In some ways it's great, obviously, but it's like I don't have that connection, you know? I don't have the full context. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of something I butt up against with a lot of older music that isn't just like readily accessible pop music. Is like, especially with Joy Division, like I needed a lot of historical and like band context to really understand like what their music was, what it became. And so it's like the more I learned about Joy Division, the more I heard of New Order, I was like, okay, this makes more sense now. Like Unknown Pleasures makes so much more sense to me now than it did when I first heard it back in September of, gosh, was it 2019? 28? Was it 2018? 2018. Dang. Whew. Sorry, just had a moment. I get it a lot more now. And I think David Bowie's going to be very similar in some ways. The music that isn't just instantly accessible, which I know there will be music like that later. Like the song Heroes, I liked on my first listen. I didn't need context. But sometimes, like, I probably, if I ever wanted to get into Queen, I would kind of need that context to fully get it, because the songs just on their own, I don't love. And it's kind of the case with Life on Mars, where it's like, this is obviously a monumental song for a lot of people and for a lot of reasons. But the fact that I don't feel that doesn't necessarily trouble me. It just goes to show that, like, I don't have what I need. And the fact that I'm, a 27-year-old guy in 2020 who hasn't heard much Bowie means that I might need to come at it from a different angle, or I might need something else in order to be able to have it click into place. And in a lot of ways, just the glam genre in general doesn't often easily click with me. Elton John's about as close as I've gotten, but those are just very easy pop songs. David Bowie's much more complex, obviously. So that's just kind of how I feel. So don't crucify me for not falling head over heels for Life on Mars on my first listen. It's fine. It's fine, okay? Let's move on. Let's move on to good old classic Kooks.
Will you stay in a lover's story? If you stay, you won't be sorry. With a couple of kooks hung up on romancing. A trumpet you can blow and a book of rules of what to say to people when they pick on you. You stay in a lover's story. If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow. Take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on romancing.
Apparently that was written for his son, Duncan Jones, who actually I got into a slight argument with him on Twitter like a year ago. I feel really bad about it. He was tweeting about like having kids and how hard it was, and in some ways he wishes he hadn't had them. And of course, I respond like out of incredulity, being like, "Dude, what?" It's like, and I made like an underhanded comment about like I can't trust anything made said by the guy who directed Warcraft, and then he responded to it, and I'm like, "Oh man." I was like, "I'm sorry, that was really below the belt." He's like, "It's all right. Sometimes things are hard." It's kind of weird to like have this interaction with David Bowie's son in which I insult him and then I apologize and whatever. That was a really weird moment. Quicksand. This is a like a folkier one. Got multi-tracked acoustic guitars and a string arrangement. That's good by me. Influenced by Buddhism, occultism, Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, let's go.
I'm closer to the golden dawn. Must frightened by the total goal. Drawing to the ragged hole. I'm torn between the light and did I guess the viper's fang or herald loud? Don't believe in yourself. Don't deceive with I'm living on. Oh, I'm sinking in the quicksand of my thoughts.
This is really interesting. Bowie's like fascination with Crowley and Nietzsche is like really coming through on some of these songs, and it's not. These aren't really concepts I'm super familiar with. Like he mentions Crowley and the occultism and stuff, but then Nietzsche has this concept of the Superman, the Ubermensch, if you will, and I'm not really super familiar with that either. So some of this is kind of lost on me, I guess. And I'm getting like an album feel from this. There's like a albumization kind of flow to it. Like you could kind of feel that with 8-Line Poem, a little bit with Quicksand, where it's like 8-Line Poem feels like that kind of transitionary track. It doesn't really stand super well on its own. And Quicksand kind of felt like one of those longer, almost ballad-esque sounding songs. So it isn't really just like a collection of tracks. This feels like a concept album in a way. I don't know, man. Let's keep going. Fill Your Heart. This is a song written by Biff Rose and Paul Williams, I guess. I don't know. What we got? No. There we go.
Fill your heart with love today. Don't play the game of time. Gentleness clears the soul. Love cleans the mind. Your mind and make you a furry. Yeah.
What? There's a weird like light aloofness to this album. There's like a contrast between some of the lyrics and like the music itself. This is a kind of a bizarre album. I can't quite put my finger on this one. I was expecting it all to be like changes, and it's not really. Andy Warhol. Oh, there you go.
show. See them as they really are. A gallery, put you all inside my show. Andy Warhol looks a scream, hang him on my wall.
This one's pretty sick.
Painting to think about glue, what a jolly boring thing to do. Can't tell them apart at all.
I won't lie, that's probably like my favorite thing I've ever heard so far from these two albums. I was not expecting that. That was just like a cool little like acoustic jam. Weird. Okay, cool. Very good. Obviously more in my wheelhouse than some of this glam stuff, but cool. Song for Bob Dylan. Is he just writing songs for people now? What is this? Is it going to sound like Bob Dylan?
I hear this Robert Zimmerman wrote a song for you. Man called Dylan with a voice like sand and glue. So here she comes again. The same old painting lady. Your paintings are all your own. While troubles are rising, we'd rather be scared. Now hear this boy, here she comes. Here she comes.
I don't mean this as like a critique or even a negative. Just like a personal reason why this album I'm not falling in love with. It pulls a lot from the same deck over and over. And that's not to say the songs sound similar, it's just that they do similar things. And hearing some of this stuff, I'm hearing like these sound like the like poppier, more energetic versions of my least favorite Velvet Underground songs. And that's kind of why it's not clicking with me. Is it's just like it's not in my lane, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard to describe because I would say I'm enjoying this album more than the last one. And I feel like it's obviously better. But it's just still not clicking with me for the most part. A lot of these songs aren't. And there's still some blues. There's still a little bit of a blues aspect to some of this. I'm interested to see if that continues with Ziggy, because there's a few like bluesy riffs on some of this, but the hard rock is pretty much gone. So, all right, now penultimate track, good old Queen Bitch. This is Velvet Underground. Interesting. Like the last three songs have been like send-ups to other artists. That's weird. Fine. That sounds like good old classic VU. Last song, the Bewlay Brothers. The Bewlay Brothers. Is this another like send-up? No. Okay. One of the last tracks to be written and recorded for the LP, the ballad has been described as probably Bowie's densest and most impenetrable song. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no.
So the story goes, they wore the clothes, they said the things to make it seem. Sang the swell through the streets like the crust of the sun. The Bewlay Brothers, teeth of brass, standing tall in the dark, by your lack of conclusions. Low, it was midnight back of the kitchen door, like the grim face on the cathedral floor. And we were gone. Real cool train all turned on in the Mind Warp Pavilion.
Lay me place and bake me pie. I'm starving for me cry. Time might just slip away. Please come away.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hunky Dory. What an interesting album. In a way, this kind of feels like the beginning, you know? It's like Man Who Sold the World was almost like a test run. And then this was like the firm feet on the ground. Here's David Bowie. And then obviously next album, Ziggy Stardust like knocks it out of the park. And is just like legendary after that. But this is like an interesting, I don't know. He pulls the glam in from the last album, because there was a little bit of glam on the last album. And he pulls it into this and then does like more artistic, interesting things with it. It's not just like a straight rock album. There's a lot of interesting things happening here. Which I think sets the foundation for things to come. Interesting. Probably won't come back too much on here. I like Changes. I like Andy Warhol. Queen Bitch was interesting. Actually, I thought the Bewlay Brothers was kind of fascinating. Just pretty much nonsense, but it's an interesting song. Yeah, there it is, guys. Interesting listen. I'm excited to keep plugging along. I'm very, very eager to keep moving because we have Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane. I want to kind of get through those, as sad as it sounds, because I'm really eager for Station to Station, Low, and Heroes. Those three together, I'm really excited for. Because my expectations for Ziggy and Aladdin like aren't super high. You know, I might love them, but I feel like Station to Station, Low, and Heroes are probably more in my wheelhouse. So I'm more eager to get to those just because I think I might enjoy them more. Maybe. We'll see. I'm not trying to rush anything. There it is. Thank you, guys. 2 out of 9 done. We are trucking. We're trucking. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Patreon.com/Alex Haitz. I will release poll video number 6 very soon. You have to be a patron. $1 a month. You'll get access to vote in the polls. I'll pick 4 albums. 4 interesting good ones. Then we'll do that album, and then we'll resume with Ziggy. I think that's all I have for you guys. Released my album recently. Link will be in the description if you want to go check out my Dream Pop Ethereal Wave album I released in January. I think that's it. Thank you all. You've been great. Sayonara.